To the first session we have today is virtual technician, and today is the first of three episodes, a three-part series for practical AI for IT. So we're super excited to kick it off with episode one, virtual technician. And I'm so excited to bring on camera with me today's speakers. If you guys want to come on up, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
All right, thank you, Danny. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Zupancic. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at GoTo, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Hey there, folks. I'm Chad Falatic. I'm a solutions consultant here at GoTo, and I'm really excited to show you guys the product live today.
Awesome.
Awesome. I will go ahead and go
Okay,
off camera. I'll throw it to you guys. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Chad, and have an amazing session.
thank you.
We will.
So with that, I want to quickly introduce our agenda for today. So as Annie mentioned, this is the first of a three-part series, and the focus of the session is really on practical applications of the virtual technician and a live demo with Chad. But before we jump straight into the console, we'll spend just a few minutes up front doing some table setting. We understand that not everyone in the audience may be coming with the same level of knowledge when it comes to AI or even context about, LogMeIn Resolve and the virtual technician. So we really want to cover that first. And we'll start by looking at, AI and why that's becoming a core part of our IT strategy today. And then, of course, the majority of our time today will be spent, reviewing practical applications and the virtual technician demo. So I think we can all agree that AI is everywhere right now. And if we move to the next slide, you'll see that I have just a couple of stats here. It's showing up in our personal lives, our workspaces, and especially in the tools that we use every day. But in IT in particular, I think this conversation is evolving more so in the last year or so. It's really no longer about experimenting with AI. It's most importantly about, okay, we know AI is important, but how do we use it meaningfully, and how do we use it in ways that are scalable also for our businesses? And I'm sure many of you have come across already a lot of AI studies and surveys, and I'm not here to overwhelm you with more data points, but just to get the ground conversation here. These are just three quick points to reflect where the IT space is heading. The first at the very top is a stat from a recent 2024 Gartner study, where they saw that nearly half of the respondents, being IT leaders, expect to see a noticeable increase in AI adoption within their IT org over the next year. And we came to a similar conclusion as well when we ran our own survey with SMEs and MSPs as well. And we found that 63% believe AI will make their teams more efficient, while 53% see it as a way to reduce operational costs. So I think what this is showing is a real momentum and optimism when it comes to AI. But I think what's lacking in a lot of these surveys is, how do we take those data points and really understand how to apply it practically without adding more complexity. And again, that's really the core message of today, and what we hope that you'll take from this presentation is that AI should empower your team and shouldn't overwhelm you, especially if you're dealing with environments where your teams might be small and where time is limited. So we hope that you do get that takeaway from the demo that you'll see in the later part of today's presentation. So I think with that, we can then move and talk about, why are teams actually investing in AI? So if this is a question that is still top of mind for you, I did want to highlight just a couple investment drivers and then how that translates to practical applications as well. Here internally, a question that we do hear often from our RT teams, especially again for those smaller and mid-sized businesses is, we get it, AI is powerful, but how, what exactly should we use it for? And so when we look at those investment drivers behind on the left of the screen, you'll see that some of the top ones include, investing in AI to better prioritize efficiency and productivity. We also see it come through to improve customer service satisfaction, to support business continuity. So more in the lens of security here. And then last but not least, it's also a way to boost productivity. And I think most importantly, to make space for more meaningful work for, IT teams as well. So would love to know how that translates for you too. So if those investment drivers aren't totally aligned with the value that you want to see with AI, definitely let us know in the chat as well. We love to make this, as interactive as possible. And so if you're now wondering, how does that translate into real world use cases? That is one where it's, it'll be very specific to your own businesses. But from our experience here with LogMeIn Resolve, I wanted to highlight some of the key ones here on the right. But of course, this can, vary again from, business to business. But what we're seeing more generally is that, AI is most practical and impactful, in ways that aren't necessarily the most flashy, but very, foundational. So you'll see here that this includes anything from, ticketing. So being able to identify issues, or I would say to be able to speed up resolutions and surface, documentation in a better way. We're also seeing it for proactive device management. So being able to identify issues or failures before they impact users, as well as, for knowledge management, for example, to be able to surface that in a more automatic fashion when it is most required. So Chad, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to maybe add here based on conversations that you've had with folks internally around AI.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what it comes down to is how this can help to kind of enhance and really automate those conventional workflows that we've been stuck doing by hand for as long as, the field has existed, right? And I think you've got a good spread here that kind of covers the core things that, most teams are concerned with, and I'm excited to break down kind of in detail, how we actually we start to provide, new automation for those situations.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. And again, like the takeaway is not that AI should necessarily fit neatly in those buckets for you, but definitely encouraging you to think about where you feel the biggest pains are today in your daily workflows, and how AI could really help reduce the pressure. So to turn the table to learn a little bit more about you, on the next slide, I encourage you to also think about where you are in terms of your adoption of AI. So of course, this again can vary from team to team. We know that teams are some teams are already rolling out AI powered tools, while others are still sort of like figuring that out. And that's definitely to be expected again, in today's economy with limited time, budget, or even concerns again about adding, complexity or even, security concerns to a certain extent. So, and we know that also, generally speaking, teams can't just flip a switch and suddenly become AI driven overnight. So it's definitely a spectrum. It's a curve. But odds are, if you've played around with, automation and AI a little bit, you're already on the curve. And so we'd love to know, just to make this again more interactive and even to, provide us with a little bit more insights when we move into the demo and also the Q&A portion of today's session is, where are you in terms of your adoption of AI? So we have a first poll that we'd like to launch. So you should see that come up on your screen. So let us know if you've adopted AI in your IT operations. Right, so we do see lots of answers coming in. It'll be interesting to see where you all land. Okay, so we can maybe give it just a couple more seconds. I do see more folks are, actively adding their answers in. Okay, so maybe we can end and share results here. Oops, I don't know if that displayed on your end, Chad. You might have
I
closed.
uh, I can't currently see it now.
Okay, so
Um,
apologies for that.
yeah,
I think we were meaning to show the
there we go.
responses. There we go.
It's up now.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
okay. So a nice split in the middle, I would say, between yes, we're using AI to some extent, we're piloting, we're testing, and we're considering it, but we haven't started yet. Okay. So definitely take that into consideration when we break down, what Resolve can do for you, and also what you can get out of the virtual technician. So I think that with that, we can move to the official introduction of LogMeIn Resolve. So I think at this point, you've heard me mention LogMeIn Resolve, apologies, a couple of times now. And if you're unfamiliar with what LogMeIn Resolve is as a solution, let me just formally introduce our solution before we get any further into the presentation. So Resolve is an all-in-one IT management and support platform that brings together everything today's internal teams, but also MSPs need to run efficient, secure, and scalable IT operations. So this really includes, endpoint management, RMM, or remote monitoring and management capabilities, MDM, or mobile device management, IT asset management, and this extends to both hardware and software asset management, service management as well. So this includes your help desk ticketing and problem management as well, zero trust security, and more. And that's all fully integrated and built natively also within a single platform. So this is what Resolve is all about. And where things get even more interesting is that we're also working on bringing AI natively across our platform. And that is where I want to pivot the conversation to give you a brief intro into where you can expect to see AI embedded across Resolve. So on this slide, what you can see is a representation of the key areas where AI, again, is natively integrated and also already delivering real value to IT teams. So again, as a reminder, for today, we're focusing specifically on the virtual technician, but it is part of a broader ecosystem and broader AI strategy for LogMeIn Resolve. And in session 2, we'll cover Resolve's AI-powered knowledge management capabilities. And then in session 3, we'll be pivoting and talking more specifically around how you can apply AI to really data insights and reporting to support your teams with that as well. Know that we also have AI running across other areas, including remote support, ticketing workflows, and we even have an AI assistant. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep the conversation strictly about the virtual technician. What it does, how it works, and why it's such a powerful tool for busy IT teams, like I'm sure everyone here is. So Chad, if we move to the next slide, would you be willing to kick us off and, give us like your view or your explanation of what the virtual technician is, and, describe it in a way that, is very simple, or in simple terms for folks that aren't familiar with the virtual
For
technician
sure.
and what they can do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So virtual technician, I think in the simplest sense is, it's your AI extra set of hands for actually interacting with machines in your environment, right? So we've all used, ChatGPT or, LLM stuff, chatbots, right? We've all talked to an AI, right? But the dream is, can it do things that I ask it to do? Can I tell it, I want you to install this program, and then the AI will go ahead and execute that for you, without like a conventional scripted action. So I'll talk in more detail about how this differs from conventional scripting and everything, but this is it. This is the holy grail, and in a sense, it's a tool that will work alongside you to actually accomplish your day-to-day tasks in actual machines, in the kind of Resolve platform. So I'm sure you could break it down in additional terms too, Kim, but that's the way that I would put it.
No, I like that. I like the analogy of the second pair of hands. I think we're all being asked to multitask, but we also all know that that's kind of an impossible ask.
Yeah,
And I think the virtual technician is definitely that second pair of hands that's embedded already for you, like built in to Resolve, and again can really execute and automate those tasks for you using really simple, plain language, no coding required. So I think that's perfect, and that's really where the real opportunity is for sure.
hmm
And
agreed.
um, so, if we're digging a little bit deeper into what is the value of adopting something like this, in your day-to-day operations. To give you a little bit more context here, I want to leave you off with this slide before we move into showing you what this is all about. So the real value is really the time that you win back and how that compounds across your team and ultimately to reducing your operational costs. So this is a way for you to think about all the low-level tasks that currently interrupt your day, and on their own they might not be material, they might not be hard, but but they do pull you away constantly, away from other work that you could be doing. And this is really where the value of the virtual technician comes in, because it lets you take those one-off tasks and turn them into reusable, repeatable workflows without any scripting again. So I think that's like the big takeaway here and the big opportunity, because it adapts to your workflows and you can really choose where you want to offload and customize it for your own specific needs. And Chad, what would you say to someone that might hear us today, new to this concept, and might say, hey, I get it, but I'm not totally convinced that automating simple tasks that I already know how to do myself or that my team knows how to do, is worth my time or my investment?
For sure, for sure. So I worked in help desk for the better part of a decade. That was my first job right out of high school. And I think that really, the job of the IT team is to know some of the specialized requirements, right, of each individual kind of business use case, right? Maybe you've got an ancient piece of software that requires, you go 3 levels deep into a sub configuration menu or something like that, right? And there's not a conventional way to script that type of work. That's the type of thing that's not requiring active, like, conscious, deliberative, like problem solving thought. It's something that we've encountered 100 times before. We know we can fix it. We've done it a million times, but there's no easy way to automate it already. This opens up like an all new kind of field of automation, right? And the other part of that too is just like that energy that you're spending on those simple tasks, you can save that and redirect it towards the complex ones. And I think the last part where I'll speak from my personal experience in IT help desk is, if you're in this field, you probably have some tickets that are medium or even higher level urgency that require just a little bit more troubleshooting than others that don't really have easy solutions, but they just don't represent, they're not an economical way to spend your time. It's not going to be, um, you might not have the spare time to attack something complicated for a medium or niche, kind of importance use case for a user. This is going to free you up to tackle those, right? Increase that satisfaction for those edge cases where you do need to be using like your critical thinking skills, getting really investigated in the troubleshooting process. These things, that's what it's going to allow you to do, because you're going to free yourself up from those sort of core basic activities, right? That's my opinion. That's how it would have helped me out back in the day. But yeah,
Thank you. I think that's very valid, and hopefully really useful in really understanding what we're trying to preach here. So, okay. So I think with that, I lied. We have one last poll before we get into the meat of today's conversation. As a last question, we'd love to know, what are you hoping AI will solve in your IT operations? That is something that can be, very different based on of your specific team's pains currently, or your industry, but we'd love to get a better understanding of that. So again, we'll give you similar to the last poll, just a couple seconds to fill that in, and then we'll move right into the demo.
really interesting stuff coming in already.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we
feeling
have
validated a little bit with these results so far. I don't want to speak too much on them. Don't want to bias people's data here, but
exactly.
feeling very validated.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, so we're gonna give like 3 more seconds for um, more to come in. Okay, let me press end and share results. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. Grand majority of you, 71%, see this as a way to reduce time spent on routine fixes. And so hopefully you really like the demo that we have prepared, because I think it is, to solve just that. So Chad, over to you for this next part of the session.
For sure, for sure. So, I think, as we jump into this, first things first, we just kind of want to establish a baseline, make sure that we're all talking about the same thing, that I'm not just going in and being like, virtual technician does this, but, there's no context around what Resolve is and how it's going to, actually work in your environment. So we're gonna do a little bit of baseline. I'm gonna tell you guys about the product more broadly, and then we're gonna get into that kind of, exciting, cool use case with Resolve Virtual Technician. So, okay, like Kim mentioned, this is meant to be kind of your A to Z tool for everything that like an individual help desk or MSP space might need, to solve for day-to-day issues in different environments, right? So what does that mean? Well, we've got a remote access platform here that has an agent that runs on machines. You can see I got this long list of different devices here. We got 70 some in our environment, but you could have hundreds, thousands, or just 10, right? Depending on your needs. In here, yeah, there's a ton of information about what's going on with these machines and turns it into really kind of great, actionable, simple data for you right away. I'm going to pull up my particular VM here so you guys can get a view. So yeah, jump in further. I get an awesome overview of all of the hardware and software that exists, kind of on the machine, what its current state is it online, is anyone around, right? I can get real-time performance monitoring. Some of this will come back in some of the kind of later sessions too about data gathering with AI and everything. So we'll be visiting more parts of this user interface later on. So again, just giving you guys kind of that baseline information here. On the right, we've got all of our tools that we can actually use to solve for problems in the environment, right? So, of course, I can take remote control of the device, and I'll show you guys kind of what that environment looks like in more detail in a bit here. We got virtual technician, right? We put it right there because we think this is a feature you're going to want access to quite a bit if you're using our tool. Remote execution, scripting, terminal. I'm not going to list them all to you, right? But lots and lots of features that you've got here to be able to handle whatever it is that you need. So we're going to talk about. See, we're so concerned with your customer satisfaction. That's an actual survey we'll ask you for. But um, we are going to be talking about some new forms of automation today, but later on, we'll be talking about more conventional ones, scripting and everything like that. We have AI-assisted script libraries and everything built into this tool, the ability to run, scripts and jobs kind of on repeat and whatever schedule it is that you need directly through here. We can do update management, AV management. We can do alerting, right, which turns into kind of actionable data that, again, we'll talk about later. We've got a full help desk built into, which I want to walk you guys through how the AI actually is going to fold directly into that, because I know people were talking about how they want to solve repeat problems, but then the other concern in poll two that I saw was just like, enhancing kind of your help desk flow and everything. It's fully AI enabled, does a lot of really cool stuff with that. Here, it's got mobile device management, reporting, session recording. We can do kind of customer facing knowledge base and everything. Okay. Wow, that's all really cool. Let's get to the actual, kind of AI and automation portion of this. I want to show you what this actually looks like live, how this will look when you're solving problems in your real environment. Kim, does that sound all right if we move on to that?
That is perfect.
All right, let me pull up our other kind of example here. All right, so, full disclosure, uh, can we see my screen okay? Is that working? There it is. Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm showing you guys a recorded session, and the reason for that is I wanted to show you a really cool edge case here, but we'll actually have the environment up live for the Q&A section, so you guys can see all this is real, all of it works. It's in a testable state that you guys can get your hands on as soon as today, don't want to overpromise. We'll probably tomorrow is a safer estimate. But yeah, so I want to show you two different use cases where we're using AI to solve for them with virtual technicians. So here is my Resolve environment, and I'm going to kind of walk you through a bit of it. All right, so we get notification, could come in through email, could come in through this tool itself that we've got two new tickets in. And one of them is my browsers are slow. Many such cases out there, folks, their browsers are often slow. It's true. Um, and we also know that we're going to do some really basic stuff to help them out, right? In fact, odds are we're probably going to just clear the cache, leave, clear their history, and then check in with them again in a bit. So this is a great example of kind of a repeat simple job that you might do. You can see though in this tool we've got some automated, kind of insights already. We'll talk more about those later on, but let's get to the actual, you know, uh, fix as it is. So I'm leaving a comment saying I'm going to reset the cache and cookies. But how am I going to actually do that? Well, I can pop in, link a device to this very, very easily. So that way the ticket and the device live right alongside each other. You don't have to go to a separate tool now. I click through, and then I'm going to fast forward a little bit, I believe. Start a remote control session, and I'll show you guys what this looks like connecting in real time. And I actually click the virtual technician button because you know what I'm thinking? Maybe it's about lunchtime, right? And I want to get this ticket off my desk, but I definitely don't want to spend my lunch actually doing it. Well, that's where virtual technician can come in. This is the actual session itself, right? Really cool, normal kind of UI for that. Mouse and keyboard, pass through, high quality streaming, everything you'd expect from a modern solution, right? I want to talk to you about the AI today, not how great Resolve is and all the other ways. It is good. In fact, it's great in my opinion. But AI. So we open the virtual technician panel, like you see up here. We have a prompt. And I, just like, if I'm interacting with other AI models, can give it a simple plain text explanation of what it is that I want done. I want it to reset Chrome's cache and history, right? I punch that query in, and then right in the tool, you can see we are given actionable information. So it gives us step-by-step instructions on what it is that we can do with this tool, right? So it wants me to open the Chrome browser, navigate to the settings menu. It's the instructions on how to take care of the task that I just asked for. So something that makes this superior to conventional kind of AI models is we have the ability to get in here and have this presented the exact same way every single time, right? It's not going to write you, here's 3 paragraphs in a college essay format and how to, reset your Chrome cache and all of that. Cool. So if you are somebody learning these tasks, right, if you're trying to onboard a new employee, this tool is going to be helpful as a repository that provides consistent, reliable information from a narrower, more purpose-built data set than a generalized model, right? But okay, cool. We can look stuff up. We've all been able to look stuff up for years. Let's talk about the actually cool stuff here. So you're going to see down at the bottom, there's this button that says execute plan, right? All right, this is it. This is the I don't know. This is kind of holy grail stuff to me. This is I don't know. It's sci-fi. You know, we click execute and it starts to do some thinking. And what is being executed right now on screen, this is totally just the AI model. You take your hands totally off the keyboard, and it's going to do this for you. It navigates through the Windows UI, not with PowerShell scripting or anything, but in the same way that me and you do, is looking what's on the screen, analyzing it, figuring out what's supposed to be next, and then taking those steps as they're written, right? So maybe we could do this a little bit faster than this can. But one thing that we can't do is do this and have another session up that we're working on at the same time, right? And something I'm actually going to jump back to kind of the main Resolve UI to communicate this to you guys. Um, this is my live environment. You can have listed on the left here up to 16 different sessions running at a time. So you could have this going in the background, do something else. Very, very easy to jump back and forth. Let me go ahead and pull up my screen recording one more time here. Cool. But yeah, it'll execute this pretty quickly. You see, it takes it, 60 seconds or so. It tells us each step that it's moving through, right? So, it went to the Chrome settings menu, went to the section for clearing the browser data, and then completed it, and then offers us a summary of what it actually just did. So you can see it says plan executed successfully. It cleared the cache and history, and it said that it saw the data deleted message, which is its confirmation, right? Really, really cool. This is done totally hands-free. It's going to give you information on whether it's finished successfully or not. It'll actually call you, and we'll talk about this later, maybe show you guys this in a live environment if we have time. It'll let you know, it'll call you into the session and say if it thinks that it's not sure what to do as well. So if there are edge cases it's not certain on, it's compatible with. Really, really cool. This is your second set of hands. This is your extra AI, protege in your pocket that lets you get your tasks done without actually having to intervene, right? Especially if you're not using a conventional scripting kind of engine to confront these. It's really, really cool. Um, There'll be questions at the end and everything. I'm sure there are questions on this. I want to show you guys an even cooler use case. So, all right, we got another ticket in here. I'm closing out the previous one. It walks me through, we'll talk more about the help desk another time. I want to show you guys more of the AI. Today, okay, so this is a really interesting one. I wanted to do a poll originally, but I was going to ask if people here are familiar with this application, Flatline DNS, that this user once configured, right? Um, so here's the thing: nobody should be familiar with this application, and the reason for that is this is a custom app that me and my buddy built years ago when I was doing web hosting with Google domains out of my first apartment. This AI has never seen this app before, right? And I'm using it as a stand-in for, let's say you guys have, a custom built app or a strange workflow, something that is just not conventionally automated for. I want to show you the type of reasoning that this tool is capable of doing. So the exact same flow as before. I associate it with the, machine. I log in, get a remote control session going, and okay, so let's pretend that as part of your workflow, you need to configure the Flatline DNS tool all of the time for your customers, right? Um, Maybe you're not doing this specific thing, but you've got something equally weird, right? So I know specifically what it is that it's going to need to do to kind of tackle this config, right? So it's not in our training data, so I can't give it something as generic as just like figure it out, right? But I can be specific about what fields it should enter text in and how, right? And so I've done that here. I'll let you all read that if you're interested. It says open the configuration, fill out these fields as such, click save, close the dialog box, get this out of my face, right? So you can see it summarizes all of that into this kind of actionable plan right down here. Really, really cool. Um, and then lets me confirm it. And then I tell it, go ahead, make that happen, right? And it searches up the application, opens it, and then it will pop up. And by the way, this small delay here that you're going to see it go through, this is not the virtual technician. This is the application that we wrote being crummy by like two 22-year-olds, half a decade ago. So I'll fast forward a little bit to when the actual app shows up and it starts to interact with it. But the cool thing is it'll wait. It doesn't just freak out right away. It waits for the process and everything to start. Okay, so the app pops up and it will literally look at it. I mean, take a look at this UI. We're not proud of it. It was a mess. Again, this was a hobby project. But all of that being said, we are still able to have the AI interact with it exactly as you would hope. So I'm going to fast forward our playback speed a little bit here, and it will enter all of that data in this field. So this is not something that we could accomplish with PowerShell. This is not something that is like an easy scriptable job, right? But we were able to give it those plain text instructions on how to interact with this, application this has never seen before. Um, and it is able to complete that configuration and actually close out the application and set it up exactly as we asked, right? So, to me, I worked a couple of different help desk jobs. Every job I worked had a weird specific process like this, right? With some practice, some deliberate interaction with our model, you're going to be able to automate these processes in a way you haven't been able to before. And now I want to show you another really cool feature here. So there's a button that says Save Plan, and you can see that it actually takes the plan that I ran once I've confirmed that it works the way that I want, and it lets me set that aside as a saved and rerunnable, piece of information in here. And it's not going to let me save it because I've actually already saved it. That was for this demo. So we can take these articles when we get them in here, and let me get this UI out of the way. Rename them, store them in a knowledge base, right? And this is another huge achievement of Virtual Technician that I really want to highlight here. Your knowledge base is now your scripting library, right? if you've been spending time creating knowledge base articles, right? If you've been trying to document and keep everything in one place, right? We could take that documentation and turn it into something that virtual technician can interpret and run. And it also works the other way. If you complete a session, right, even if it doesn't involve virtual technician, if it's something that is, done by hand, we're going to talk about this later on in our other, portions of this kind of AI overview, sessions 2 and 3. You can turn those into knowledge base articles directly and store them in here. Knowledge base is user accessible, by the way. You can share these things out over a hot link through you know, through a web portal that's available to end users as well. That's all possible directly through here, right? So, virtual technician plans become, like here's one that somebody built to remove this specific printer, right? You could probably edit this very quickly to make it not apply to just that one printer, right? But that works, becomes an executable plan that is now visible. If I go to the plan library here in the session, exactly like this, very, very, very cool stuff. Um, Want to get a reality check on our time limit. You can see there's more going on here. I gave a note saying, hey, I finished it. It sums it up. Again, we'll talk about how AI interacts with all of that, but we wanted to start with the big one here. This is your AI assistant. It's your second set of hands. It's actually going to help you do the work, not just give you instructions on how to do it. Okay, so I believe we have a couple of closing slides and then maybe a brief Q&A. Am I
Yes.
correct, Kim? Anything else you want me to cover here?
No, I think that's perfect. We do want to leave some time for some live questions. So I think with that, we can quickly wrap up with with a quick coming soon item for those that might be
Yep.
wondering if we can do multi-session handling.
Yeah. Um, so I'll speak to this real quick. In general, we're still looking at the ways that we take a tool like this and fully, and expand the scope of what it can handle, right? Right now, we have it set up in the way that we do because a tool like this should be used alongside a human operator, right? But if we're working on UIs that present, multiple sessions at once, so if intervention or anything is necessary, right? Like there are controls in here, for example, that do things like notify you of like when um, like a password needs to be provided or something like that, right? Multi-session handling is coming to the tool. We're hopeful at some point in the near future here. But really just know that, if you're interested in these features, if you're interested in kind of the future of, IT help desk and related workflows, we're looking into it with this here. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. That was an awesome demo. I hope that you all enjoyed it. And if you still have more questions, which is possible, it is a short demo. We try to make the best of the time that we have here. Let us know if you would like a personalized demo. We can adapt this to your specific use cases. So if you're like, I think this is great, but I have more questions about how I can make this applicable to me, Chad or someone else on our team will be happy to do that so that it's really tailored to your specific pains. All right, so again, we're gonna just let this run for a couple seconds, and I'm gonna use this time to just look at the questions that we got. We did get quite a bit of interaction.
Yes.
Okay. So a funny thing, we have someone that just mentioned, I'm literally answering tickets, trying to listen to this at the same time, which I think just proves the point. Will you be sending out a recording of this, or may I request one? Yes, of course, we'll be sending the recording, of course. So expect to see that in your inbox soon. And again, if you want a personalized demo, we can also adjust it to your specific needs. Okay. So we have a question here. Yeah, so what safeguards are in place to prevent AI from making incorrect or harmful decisions in IT environments?
Yep.
So yeah, so you want to take that one, Chad?
For sure. So, one of the core things, first of all, is it performs analysis on whether or not a field is going to require like sensitive data, right? And then it'll prompt you in. So the demo that I showed you guys today, deliberately, I kept that out just for demo flow reasons. But by default, like if it uh, you know, if it sorry. If it encounters something unexpected, it's going to notify you and ask for your intervention, right? And then the other safeguard of this too is, the way that we've built the tool out, where right now it's still something that requires and expects, deliberate kind of human interaction, right? If you know enough about how AI works, you know that there has to be a degree of randomness, or like temperature is like the technical term, that allows it to operate in the way that humans do, right? It's what makes it responsive to naturalistic, speech and everything like that. Um, that type of thing, we are investigating the fact that this has to be somewhat supervised, right? And of course, by default, like we're never going to just have this execute something without deliberate firsthand setup as well. This is something that still works alongside a person, requires human intervention. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
that's
can
my
pause
answer
it
to
at
that.
any time. You can,
Exactly.
there are some guardrails if you're not liking the way that, it's turning out. So of course. And again, if you have more specific questions, we're happy to take that after the session too. We understand that security is definitely a big part of this. So one other question here, how does it handle application updates that change the menus, buttons, naming, etc.? Do you need to train the AI when a patch comes out, or does it AI learn in real time?
Yeah. So in general, the model training and everything is handled on our front, right? The closest thing to training that you would have is like if it was like a highly obscure application, like the example that I gave you guys earlier, you need to be specific about like what the field is called, that it's interacting with. The vast majority of stuff, Windows UIs for most applications tend to follow certain kind of tropes and even, design standards, right? And this actually does interact with some of the accessibility controls that have been built into Windows for a very long time, that kind of inform it of what certain fields are, how to interact with them, stuff that's related to that, right? So in general, shouldn't require much. And I think I would refer to like that extreme edge case that I showed you guys, like our app. It's not in the training data, right? I had to be specific about what I wanted it to do, but it could do it.
Perfect. I do see that we have more questions that we'll be able to answer live today. But just a last one is, someone asking if they can try the virtual technician by taking out a free trial. Unfortunately, the virtual technician being, AI enabled, it's not available in our free trial. But if you are interested, definitely let us know. And a sales member of our team can enable a premium version of our trial, or an MSP, for that matter, if that's more specific to you. And that way you can, test it and, test, the accuracy, or if there's is something specific that you want to test, you can also use those 14 days to do that as well. So we are at time. So we'll have to end the session, unfortunately. But I know that we got lots and lots of questions. So we'll be very diligent in making sure that we do a follow up and answer your questions after the session. And the good news is we have session 2 and session 3 coming up in August. So definitely, join us again. Session 2 is on August 5th and session 3 is on August 19th. So we hope that, you guys join us for another great presentation. And Chad, thank you so much again for the demo. I really enjoyed it. I hope that it was helpful to you all. And we're really excited to do this again in August.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Bye.